I've been on a New England kick for the better part of my life just because I think it's such an awesome part of the country. I'm really interested in history, so naturally I'm pretty excited about the Castle Rock show that's coming out this month. Well, today Hulu put out a trailer that actually shows us some of the plot that's going to be in this show, and it's also full of Easter eggs. So I thought it'd be fun for today's video if I went through it and found every single Easter egg and reference that I could. So the first thing to point out is that Bill Skarsgård is in the show. I don't think there's anyone out there who doesn't know he played Pennywise in last year's It adaptation. He looks a lot different without his makeup, and it's been confirmed multiple times that he's playing a different, completely new character this time around called the Kid. Moving forward a little bit in the trailer, it looks like Skarsgård's character just showed up one day at Shawshank Prison, and judging by this shot later on in the trailer, it looks like he's gonna escape pretty early on in the show. Now, you probably know Shawshank from the excellent film adaptation directed by Frank Darabont, The Shawshank Redemption, but Shawshank has popped up in tons of Stephen King books and novellas, including 11/22/63, Needful Things, Bag of Bones, and It. After that, we're introduced to Henry Deaver, who's played by Andre Holland. From what I can tell, he's the main character of the show, and he's been called back to his hometown of Castle Rock by someone at Shawshank Prison. Whether that's Skarsgård's character, an employee of the prison, or someone else remains to be seen. Scott Glenn's character is named Alan Pangborn, and if you've read The Dark Half or Needful Things, you already know who he is. If you don't, he was Castle Rock Sheriff from 1981 to 1991, which explains why they chose an older actor for him, since the show looks like it takes place in modern day. He's also briefly mentioned in both Gerald's Game and Bag of Bones, so he's a pretty cool addition to the show. Next up, we have this old newspaper article titled Rabid Dog Tears Through Town, and that's a pretty clear as day reference to Cujo. I wonder if Cujo will actually be in the show, or if this is just a one-off little nod, but either way, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go watch Cujo after I'm done with this video. Sissy Spacek is playing Ruth Deaver, a woman with dementia who's also Henry's adopted mother. Spacek herself is yet another Easter egg because she famously played Carrie White in the film adaptation in 1976. Juniper Hills Asylum is a mental hospital featured in a few high-profile Stephen King works like It, Gerald's Game, 11/22/63, and The Dark Half. In it, Henry Bowers is committed there until he breaks out in 1985 with some help from Pennywise, who takes the form of a Doberman. Nettie Cobb from Needful Things was also committed to Juniper Hills after she killed her husband during a psychotic break which she had due to a lifetime of physical abuse. There's a real estate sign that pops up later in the trailer, and a bundle of balloons rise out from behind it while the sound of children laughing can be heard in the background. This is obviously a reference to It, but I'm not sure if it'll end up in the actual show because it would be kind of weird and a little lame for them to have It in Pennywise form without It being played by Skarsgård. We got a few brief glimpses of Molly Strand, who owns a real estate business in Castle Rock. She's played by Melanie Lynskey, who starred in a miniseries called Rose Red, which Stephen King wrote. That's actually a story Stephen King wrote in 1996 to pitch to Steven Spielberg as a feature film. It's a remake of The Haunting, very loosely, which is already a remake of The Haunting on Hill House, and the only reason that the feature film didn't happen and it became a miniseries was because a different remake of The Haunting on Hill House was released in 1999. We also get a quick look at Jane Levy's character Jackie. The Stephen King wiki says she's a morbid and death-obsessed woman who is a self-appointed historian of Castle Rock. I don't know anything more about her character, but I loved her in both Evil Dead and Don't Breathe, so I'm happy to see her in another horror property. This shot of all the kids sitting in front of a lectern makes me instantly think of Children of the Corn. I can't tell if the person in the foreground is a kid or not, and I don't remember the masks being a key feature of Children of the Corn, but that's all I can really think of here. There's 2 or 3 frames where we get to see Chosen Jacobs. He played Mike in the It adaptation last year, but for this show he's playing Wendell Deaver, who I'm assuming is Henry's younger brother. He looks scared in this shot, so I hope he's okay. And speaking of It, there's a nice shot of blood washing down a drain, and that's definitely a reference to Bev. So that's all the connections, Easter eggs, and references to other Stephen King properties I could find in this trailer. I'm sure I missed a couple though, because it was absolutely full of them, so if you found one I didn't talk about, be sure to let me know what it is down in the comments below. Not gonna lie to you guys, I'm pretty excited for this show. I haven't really been this excited for a TV show since Stranger Things Season 2. I also want to let you guys know that I just posted a new episode of my horror podcast, Fear Frequency, and I'll put a link down in the description. That's all the time I have for today though, so as always, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.